Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jack Branch, and this is the Healthy Wealth Show. This is number 12, and boy, do we have a treat for you today. I'm really excited to be interviewing a local. You know, back in the day, there used to be this Dr. Ruth Westheimer, and I remember getting on the plane when I was in Minneapolis, and she was there, and was really, back in the day, would talk about some things about it would just sometimes make you cringe a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It would be like, woo, how is she going there? But, I find more and more doing this show, the Healthy Wealth Show, the whole motive is to really help people not only navigate through their, trying to accumulate wealth, but also doing it in a healthy way. And what I find so often when people, especially couples, come in my office, they were once crazy in love and chasing each other around, and something has happened. Something seems as though it's just not warm and fuzzy anymore. There's like this wall that has come between them, and I couldn't be more excited than to interview really the sex and relationship expert, Tiffany Anton. Tiffany's been doing this for over 18 years, and my massage therapist actually introduced me to her, and as I started looking at some of her stuff online or TED Talks and other stuff, it began to intrigue me. It began to say, this isn't a Dr. Ruth, but this is somebody in the here and now that is truly, talking about the things that need to be talked about, and I find more times than not, people aren't really having these conversations that matter. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome my friend, Miss Tiffany Anton. How are you today, Tiffany?
Hello, Jack. It's a pleasure to share time with you today on your show.
I'm glad you came on. So the topic of this is how sex can save your life. So that's a pretty bold statement. And I know in, kind of our initial preparation, but talk to us a little bit about why this topic around sex and, relationship building became so evident as a calling or something you wanted to pursue, in your professional career.
Well, that's a couple questions there. The first thing I want to say is hallelujah, Dr. Ruth, that she was able to come out and talk to us. And here she was, this old, short, plumpish German woman that was able to talk about sexuality in a non-threatening and non-erotic way. And so that's how she was able to kind of come into our society in an educational format because we were able to listen to her. So we're appreciative of, Dr. Ruth being able to reach out to us. Then you ask me, how did I become interested in specializing in sex?
Yeah, sex and relationships. That's correct.
Sex and relationships. Well, I initially started wanting to be like a criminal psychologist, a forensic psychologist, and I attended criminal justice courses, and this is, in 1990, 1991, where they had the revamp of kind of the semi-hippie era, and I was in Birkenstocks and long skirts, and I didn't particularly belong in the criminal justice courses, and I didn't understand that until I just knew it wasn't my fit. I didn't understand that until I started taking women and gender studies classes, and I'm like, I am at home. So I switched out of that major completely and realized that sex was so much more fun than crime. You have to agree to that. You have to agree.
Absolutely.
So I graduated from Loyola University in Chicago, and they had Dr. Domina Renshaw was running the Loyola University Sexual Dysfunction Clinic. So it was an excellent opportunity for me to get my master's degree in social work at Loyola and then to continue my training with Dr. Renshaw.
Yeah,
So,
I know when I watched this TED Talk you did about pleasure, right? I think it was pleasure. And
it is, Jack. It is I love pleasure. You've got to remember that one.
I love pleasure.
I
That's
love
correct.
pleasure.
So many people, whether it's our religious upbringing or beliefs has made somewhat sex be just dirty instead of it being something we all enjoy and talk about, and so how did that all come to fruition? How did we take something that was intended to be so good and make it so taboo?
Well, I'm not going to get into any religious messages discussion today. What I will say is you and I exist because somebody had sex,
That's correct.
right?
Yeah.
What I would like to talk about is how my statement of sex saves your life has validity to it.
Awesome.
When I do some of my presentations, I will say, I'm here to save your life, jokingly. And they're like, what? And, it's men and women paired together. And I said, sex 3 times a week reduces your chance of heart attack and stroke by 50%.
Wow.
50%. Yes. And so it has the cardiovascular positive effects. It has the positive effects of the immunity. Now, people will joke and say, well, what about 4 times a week? No, none of the research says that. It's like 3 is the cap. 4 doesn't provide any more benefits. And beforehand, we didn't realize that, being sexual, it's just was viewed in procreation. And now it's about procreation and recreation. And now let's add recreation and health.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the men watching this show will sign up for that. And, because 3 times a week we'd be like, sign me up. I'm ready. But even as we get a little older, I'm 48. And what do you see as men get a little older? Obviously you're talking about the heart, but as men do start to approach 50 and then 60, seems like there's an inversion. The women's libido is going like this and the men's is going like that. So how do we deal with that in this conversation?
Well, even though it is a real health booster for men, we don't see that much difference in women, which is a pisser. So what it does with us is it's relative to like a 30 to 60 minute workout. What it does for us is it also improves our immunity and reduces stress. Now, even though it's kind of fun to say I'd like to have sex 3 times a week, in reality, that's kind of hard to accomplish. It's really easy to accomplish when we're first starting to date someone and we're falling in love and all we think about is them and their touch and how good it feels. So we have major neurotransmitters, serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, GABA. So most of us have heard of like serotonin or dopamine. So when we have a day-to-day, here is our dopamine. I'm making it kind of like a light wave. We're in decent moods most of the time. And if I see you and I have that chemical connection to you, my dopamine is going to go from here to here. Okay?
Wow.
And so my pupils are even going to dilate when I see you, but it's going to be all unconscious and physiological, so you won't even notice it. So there's all kinds of things in play biologically to help people mate. Right?
Right.
So in the beginning, we get this huge boost of dopamine, which makes us, quote unquote, horny. Okay?
Here we go. We're going to say the Dr. Ruth word. I love it. Keep it going.
Because I'm really going to challenge the word, and I do so in my TEDx talk, I Love Pleasure, as how the word horny and societal messages really get in the way of what's happening in our life. So if we have the dopamine like this, and we're together, and things feel positive, and let's say we are having sex 3 times a week, 3 times a week, and then after 2 years, our dopamine level goes down to mainstream, to whatever our status quo was before we met the other person. My most frequent thing seen in session is libido discrepancies. So let's say you meet, here, let me get a little closer. You meet and your libidos are like this. So it's just a pinch lower and a pinch higher, and both of them are correct, right? And then there's couples who are like this, and they often can compromise and manage, right, to create win-win scenarios. And I see couples that are like this. So that would be a person here saying sex once every 3 months, person here saying sex once every 3 weeks. Or 3 times per week. So this is once every 3 months, this is 3 times per week. So it's a really large discrepancy. And surprisingly, we make the assumption that it's women that are the low libido partners all the time, but not necessarily. And when you have this large libido discrepancy, here's the higher partner and here's the lower partner, who do you think has more power?
Who do I think has more power?
Yeah.
I would think the one with the higher libido.
Now, this person has the power to say when, where, how, what.
When, where, how, what. Love it.
Yeah. So I'm the low libido partner. He or she is the high libido partner, but I get to regulate it.
Hmm.
And then this person here can have a repeated pattern of, hey, let's do this tonight. Hey, let's do this tonight. I give an example of an ice cream sundae. I don't know if, it's kind of off, but what I do is
Go with
give examples. Go with it?
go with it.
Go with ice cream. Okay. I like to give couples examples that are out of the realm of what they're dealing with because it lowers their defenses. So let's say there's a couple, and we'll make it the male says, hey, let's go out for an ice cream sundae. So they go out for an ice cream sundae. It's a little bit later at night. We haven't done this in a while. Oh, this tastes so good. I haven't had a sundae in a while. That was a great idea. Right. And then the next night, you get a little poke on the shoulder. Hey, how about another ice cream sundae? It was really good last night. It's going to be really good tonight. Well, all right, let's get up and go have an ice cream sundae. Night 3, night 4, night 5, day 50. And by day 50, the other partner is going to be like, don't even say the word ice cream. Screw you, hot fudge. Don't even mention it. I am now like rejecting or repelling against any of your discussions about ice cream because I have been overloaded by it. And then I feel like I'm the one to blame because I'm not the one that wants to have an ice cream sundae as much as you.
Yeah.
So if you keep trying to chase me for the ice cream sundae, I'm going to completely shut down. If we both start avoiding discussing ice cream sundaes, but we know it's both of our favorites, that creates more distance between the partners. So what it is about is I really like ice cream sundaes. And the other partner can say, I do too. I just don't have kind of the same craving that you have. How can we create something that works where we both get some ice cream sundaes, where you feel that chocolate craving is satisfied, and I feel like I'm not going to eat too much and gain weight. I'm using a fun metaphor. And then I can join you in having this wonderful hot fudge sundae or ice cream sundae. So again, it's when those libido differences are drastically different. There's styles of how people interact with it. That's when they come to my office with this large difference, and I help them twist that around in a way that makes a flower bouquet, if I can say. So we can turn it into the win-win and honoring the libidos of each individual and having empathy for the higher libido partner, what that's like to be rejected. I mean, that hurts. Because if your love language is touch, I'm sure you know about the Love Language book.
Great book.
You got it?
Gary Chapman, love it. And we automatically think that our love language is the other one's by default, right? If mine is physical touch, I automatically assume, well, Renee's should be physical touch.
Yes.
Right.
And mine is words of affirmation and touch. So if you tell me that you appreciated a meal I cooked, that you were proud of me for something I accomplished, that you honor the way that I parent, in a variety of ways, say something that's affirming. Oh, and then you want to touch me? I am just in heaven.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to sit next to me and watch a movie and not talk, if you want to wash my car, I'm thankful. If you want to buy a gift, I enjoy it. But those aren't what really gets me and helps me to feel love. Yeah. So the main love languages are touch, words of affirmation, time, acts of service, and gifts. So if you're the higher libido partner and your love language is touch, and you're repeatedly turning down your partner, and mind you, it's because the partner's being sane and calm and not screaming ice cream sundaes, okay? that person, I know. So you have to be, kind of sane and calm. But when you repeatedly turn down this person, you're shutting down their love language. You were saying, I'm not going to let you love me. Wow, I can't even show you that I love you. So I think it's really important for couples to do the love language quiz and to do it together. So I like them to do it on their own. And then, they do the little circles and then they come together. And so then that would be like, Jack, if you and I sat down and I said, okay, Jack, I think that you would rather, on number one, you would rather experience a hug. And you would look at your list and say, that's what I circled. And then you would say, I think that you would also rather experience a hug than a surprise text. And so you kind of go back and forth, and there's no debating on it. It's just information gathering. So you can understand what your love language is. And the goal isn't to sit there and go, see, I told you if you say good words to me. It is my job as your life partner to increase your love language.
That's good.
And it's your job, hopefully, if you prioritize it, because you always have a choice, to then increase your behavior of my love language so we both feel valued and loved in the relationship. I was joking around. I have a business coach right now. I'm looking at expanding my business. And in one of our sessions together, I said, well, if they're kind of acting jerky, who wants to share their body with them? And she said, oh, you need to write a book saying stop being a jerk and get laid. And that makes such a huge difference as to how we are treating each other. If we're treating each other with defensiveness and contempt and we're shutting down, what would make the other partner want to approach you to be erotic? Or what would make that person want to share themselves sexually with you? So understanding the love languages and working on that relationship piece, which you and I have discussed before, yep, lends you to be more open to sharing yourself sexually. So if we tie that back into the beginning of sex 3 times a week, if I don't want to look at you, I am definitely not having sex with you 3 times a week. So making sure that you strengthen that relationship base. Now, the most benefits sexually that we're seeing for men were during intercourse, but these benefits are also seen with self-pleasure. So we've discussed the health benefits of men and sex. We have discussed how our libido naturally changes, particularly after 2 years. Now let's add job stress, kids, okay, financial stressors maybe.
Right, no doubt.
Menopause, illness. I mean, that's going to really kind of transform what your sex life looks like. So what we're doing is we're working to continue to prioritize our erotic connections even when those things are happening.
Otherwise they're in the bedroom with you, right? I mean, it's like you got all this stuff in there, and people wonder why they can't connect. And I think so often too, people have just think that sex is, you got to get to the finish line. I loved your TED talk that spoke so much about men and how we, unfortunately men have been marketed so much in this performance mentality of, what did you say? It was the sign that said miles per hour. I'm going to let you say it. I'm not going to say it.
Oh, yes. I think that, no, it was a humorous thing. It was, warning. It was, how fast do you think that your ejaculate goes? And evidently, research says that you ejaculate at the rate of 24 miles per hour. So I could make a joke about that. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. 24 miles an hour.
But all that put, men with this performance, we feel like that we've got to be, this, that, and the other, when women really just want us to be intimately involved in them. Like you said, understanding how to have the dialogue around the ice cream or genuinely interested in them. And that's really where I think our society and some of the views on sexuality have changed. I mean, in our culture, some for the good, don't get me wrong, but some not for the good, to take this and provide it, we're almost, I got to check the box, just like I got to check the box. And so often versus that genuine desire to be full with one another, right?
Well, when I meet with men that says, well, I'm having trouble performing, and I joke and say, well, are you on stage? In Amsterdam, they do have sex shows. No, I'm not on stage. Okay, well, who are you performing for? Well, I want to be manly. I want to please my partner. Okay, well, the more you think about performance, the less connected you're going to be to your partner.
That's good.
The other thing now, it's relatively true, not 100%, but pretty darn true, is that men tend to define sex by, do I have an erection? Am I experiencing intercourse? And did I have an orgasm?
So you believe that's men only? You said primarily, but I think there's a lot, actually, I think that's gender neutral, no? More so men, huh?
Yeah, we can have a whole debate about that. Because, there's different variants. Yeah. Yet when men define themselves as erection, intercourse, and orgasm, that's successful sex, many of us have had not so great sexual experiences and have had an orgasm, or men have had not so great sex and had an erection as well. So it's about redefining positive sexual touch. I also comment about who reports the highest level of sexual satisfaction between, straight couples, gay couples, female couples, bi couples. And it's actually the ladies. The ladies with the ladies report the highest level of sexual satisfaction. And neither of those have an erection involved. So erections are really important. And when men have erectile dysfunction, it needs to be addressed, and to be addressed with compassion. Yet when they put that front and center, that's the big event, then they're losing that sense of connection with their partner and ability for pleasure. So with erectile dysfunction, one thing that happens is, let's say one time they're really stressed out from work and they come home and they engage in sexual touch with their partner, and they either can't gain the erection or they lose it. And then here comes the self-judgment. Here comes the kind of emasculating feelings, that kind of paranoia, what's wrong with me? So then when you go to be sexual the next time, what do you think is going to be on their mind?
I'm not good enough, or I can't perform. It's just that.
Oh, yeah. There's your performance word, Jack. You pulled it out, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this again.
Right.
Part of that could have just been stress.
Right.
When that mindset shift comes in, then that increases their chance of having ED. So if you do have ED, I want you to pay attention to how stressed are you? What medications are you taking? Do you have heart disease? Are you at risk of heart disease?
Yeah.
Are you diabetic? Are you obese? Are you drinking too much? And do you have realistic expectations? So those are some of the things to think about if you're having ED. And there's so many options that are out there. People come to me feeling like there's nothing left, and I feel like they're still at home plate. I mean, they haven't even started. So you can have ED and still be able to have a pleasurable sex life as long as you can manage the pressure that you put on yourself for what your genitals do or don't do. Because when we stop touching and kissing and snuggling and having dates with each other and giving positive statements and doing things to honor each other, then we disconnect. Whether your genitals are working, people will come in and say, it's working or it's not working. And I'm like, what, your car? Is your car working or not working? Because they just, have so much pressure on themselves. So, if you have ED, see your urologist, you can see a therapist. And it's also with low libido with women, seeing your gynecologist, getting a full blood panel. Let's see how your hormones are doing. Let's see how your thyroid is doing. What is your stress level like?
Yeah, because women are working in the workforce even more so than men. I mean, which is great, right? We want women to be upwardly mobile and effective and efficient in our society and economy, but they're burning both ends of the candle as well. And I know one of the things, and if you're liking this content, share it. Don't just watch it, but share it. This is some great information about, how to really save your life in relationships through sex. I mean, we were crazy about one another when we first started pursuing our spouse, but how do we get in the doldrums of looking at each other? There's a joke that says, when we first started dating, we would have lots of sex and lots of foreplay and various things, oral sex and what have you. Now our oral sex is passing each other in the hallway and say, "Fuck you." It's like, really, that's what our lives can become. It's like, my goodness. It's, so who are good people you want to talk to? I know you got this group, that you're working on with women, that start hitting their 30s and 40s with low libido and they feel a lot of pressure because their husbands are talking about ice cream all the time and not really trying to get to know them intimately. So, I mean, who are good people that you want to talk to, and then who are not good people, Tiffany? I know you are in New Orleans, in the greater New Orleans area, and she's got a website, www.neworleanssextherapy.com, I believe. And we're going to post that as well as some other resources like her TED Talk. But talk to us about who you want to discuss and meet with, in some of this new coaching you're doing.
Well, first I want to just make a joke and say I think that I've changed your view of ice cream. And it might even be a code word. Hey, Renee, I was thinking about some ice cream.
How about some ice cream?
How do you initiate sex? You can ask, would you like to be sexual? You can light a candle. You can run a bath. You can schedule it. Right. Maybe you can suggest the word ice cream. So I do have the office that is in Covington. Even though it says New Orleans Sex Therapy, it's located in Covington. And I'm there most Monday through Fridays. I accept Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, and after that is fee for service. I'm working with adults that are committed to making positive, healthy change to regain a positive sense of self and a reinvigorating, healthy sex life. I don't work with anyone that has criminal history or background or any type of illegal fetishes. That's completely off my chart. You need to see somebody else. At the current moment, I have a Facebook group called From Low to Go. And it is a closed group, but all you need to do is go up at top on Facebook and put in the word From Low to Go, and it should come up, and then you'll be able to click on Join. It is targeted for women that are 30 and over and struggling with a low libido. So I've been running this group for 2.5 months now. Starting January 20th, I will have a 4-part free training series. And they can sign up. On my From Low to Go group, because I'll be sending out a lot of information. Actually, they're going to be overloaded with information in the next 2 weeks. So they can join, and it will be, kind of like this. Is that their face isn't on the screen, but mine is, and you can type a question anytime you want it, so I can answer it. And I'll have like PowerPoint slides up there that will help you kind of go through what we're talking about. And I want them to journal things out so they can do some exploration as to how do they feel in their body? What were the messages that they received growing up? It's or at the same time, though, I have a lot of empathy with women who so negatively judge their body and they're not open to sharing it with their partner.
Yeah.
And let's say you're 40 pounds overweight. Okay, what's the doctor say? Other than that, that doesn't have anything to do with your sexiness or your value or worth. And women will say, well, I don't want to be sexual because I don't want him or her to see my body. And what's happening is then I'm shutting down who I am erotically, and I'm forcing you into temporary celibacy because of body image issues. So I want women to feel really good in the body they have now.
It's good.
Because when we accept the body that we have now, and we need to make some changes, then we're more likely to make some changes. And I like those changes only based upon health, because I think curves are really nice.
Absolutely.
more about a health issue than what does society tell us is sexy. So when women talk about, I don't want the light on, or I don't want to be in this certain position, because they'll see my belly move, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're hold on, if you're on all fours and your partner's behind you, okay, your partner is not thinking, oh wow, I bet her belly's really hanging down, right? Okay. Let me tell you what men are thinking. And that's funny, I'm telling you. Let me tell you what men are thinking. Please challenge me, Jack,
No,
please.
I'm not challenging.
Come on. Okay. So let's say you're the person, the female with, really low self-esteem about their body, and they're in that position, and they're thinking these negative thoughts. What often the men are thinking are, that curve in your back is really sexy. I really like touching on your bum. I really like being able to see this interaction. Okay? I am not at all thinking about your belly or thinking about your thighs. I'm thinking about the pleasure of this experience, the beauty and the curve of your spine, the softness of your skin.
Yeah.
Or when it's another one, when females are on top, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to be on top. I'm going to be jiggling. Okay? Well, do you think that your male partner is looking down at your belly and paying attention to the jiggle? No. Your partner is looking at your eyes, at your chest. They're not thinking about what's going on in the belly. It's the eyes, the chest, and the sensations.
Yeah.
So that's just, something that I do cover in the From Low to Go is I really want to empower women to feel good in the body that they have, to get rid of these messages. I mean, I'll have women say, I never thought about the arch of my spine. Well, I want you to think about it.
It's good.
To look at how I don't want couples to have sex just because they're horny. I want couples to have sex because they prioritize erotic touch. That they know that being sexual with each other helps them to chemically bond with the release of oxytocin and is like that flower bouquet. It's watering our garden. And it's not about we're just going in there and we're eating this ice cream really fast. Well, occasionally you might eat that ice cream really fast. And you can do that for fun. But it's about savoring this relationship that we have with no other.
Right.
It's about cherishing that person that's in front of you, that's interested in spending their life with you. I talk about bathing together and showering together and how nurturing it is to have your partner wash your hair and to scrub on your back. We're not going to shower with anyone else like that.
That's good.
And those are really low demand activities.
I truly believe that this is an epidemic in our society, that people aren't talking about sex. They're not, looking at it in a healthy way. And they're sure not, most people aren't doing it 3 times a week, and if we're not, we're just setting ourselves up for, what I call the subtle drift, right? Where we find ourselves, we're really close at one time. And then through all this bad thinking or bad priorities, as you say, or not making a priority, we just drift apart. And then you look at your partner and they're way out drifting through the undertow. And you're like, how the hell did we get here?
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're empty nesters.
And, I encourage you, if you're in that spot right now, reach out to Tiffany. I mean, you can do it via Skype, or you can, if you're feeling awkward or you're feeling shame or woo, we got this erectile dysfunction, or we're just not where we once. Invest in your marriage, invest in your intimacy with your relationship. If you just have a partner and you're not married, make it a priority. Nobody's going to make it a priority unless you do. And she's got a lot of resources. You can go check her out online. We're going to put her TED Talk in here, but definitely in 2019 and beyond, don't just keep saying it's going to get better, because it's not going to get better unless you make it a priority. It's not
Well,
going to.
money can't buy that sense of erotic connection, love, and passion. And when you use the word wealth, we can look at it as financial wealth, and we can look at it as wealth of spirit and wealth of relationship.
Yeah.
And having both of those are very nice. But when we have wealth of spirit and confidence, that helps us go out into the world and be more successful.
Yeah, it's all interrelated. I mean, the more that, like you said, the more you're a sound whole person, the better you're going to show up in the world, right?
Yes. So money is nice, and working to it's about how can we give to others,
Yep.
right? So we have that finances that come underneath that, but it comes from the spirit of giving to others.
And that's really the reason I put this show together, and I want to highlight people like Tiffany. It's really not about me. It's about you. And it's about you becoming the better person, becoming the better couple in all facets of your life. I see a lot of rich people that are broken that come into this office, that they look at each other and they kind of passing each other in the hallway saying, F you. And it's like, what's the point? What's the point of having all this money if you don't enjoy being together with one another? So if you take those little steps and don't let the undertow drift you apart, it won't.
The other language would be fortune, right? We link that with money. I have fortune in my heart, fortune in my relationships, fortune in my wallet. So the word fortune can be really powerful in our lives. And we take so much time in focusing on our work. If we put 10 to 15% of that energy from our work day and we put it into our relationship, can you imagine how that can transform?
Amazing.
So the four dreaded words, stereotypical again, is we need to talk. Men hate those words.
Right.
The point, though, is when we are in a business, and let's say you work for a corporation, you're regularly going to have performance reviews. You're going to have end-of-year planning, right? And you don't sit there and grumble, oh, we're going to have this. Oh, I don't want to do that. If we can switch that up a little bit and apply it to our relationship, so that would be like, every 6 months or so, I want to check in with you to feel like how do you think the relationship is going? How are you doing to work on meeting some of your needs? How do you feel I'm doing at helping you to meet some of your, okay, so you meeting your own needs, me helping you with some of those needs. How is our relationship transforming in a way that we need to redevelop it, or we're going to put those check marks on this is working great for us. We do not do relationship checkups.
Yeah.
But we definitely do business checkups.
That's a great idea. I mean, maybe there needs to be, and you said something that I think a lot of couples get out of the habit. And there's one couple that mentors me that I see them still doing. They have 6 children, 6 daughters under the age of 12.
Wow.
But they date one another every week. And I can tell their love tank is there, I mean, it's just evident the way that he handles her. It's like it's a dance, right? It's maybe they're a little clumsy at first like me. I wouldn't be a great tango guy out of the gates, but if we take lessons and we practice and we get better at it, then it just becomes more natural. And we have to make this a priority, folks, in 2019, or somebody else will. There's this other lady that I know you follow. You and I have talked. Who's the lady that's become kind of the guru?
Oh, Esther Perel.
And she did a series about why people cheat. And it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating. And it's not just men. It's women too. And so if somebody is not truly taking care of that love tank, then, you may tell yourself that, hey, I would never do this. But if you put yourself in the wrong situations or the wrong environment too often, you will wander. So,
Jack, that's a whole other podcast.
and we may have to do something else. I mean, we're getting a lot of great feedback. So, maybe in March or something like that, we come back and we talk about that infidelity piece. Because, I think I really appreciate you taking some time today, Tiffany. I know at first you were like, and this has gone great. I mean, if you see the comments, of
I
people once you.
can't. I just have our
Yeah,
Skype up.
yeah, but once you start seeing this, definitely share this out, folks. I mean, the key to this is that the right people, your friends, maybe even you, may be dealing with some intimacy issues that you really need help with. And, I mean, sex is a big piece of that. And it's also this communication and empathy and you wanting to really get to know your spouse in a deeper way so that you can give them exactly what they need. Because just the other day, a guy told me, if you take care of her, all she can do is reciprocate. And that's just how we're built as human beings, right? I mean, when you fill the other's tank up, they're going to want to reciprocate. So men, if you're not getting it 3 days a week, maybe you need to look in the mirror.
If you're not giving it, can we use the word
Giving,
giving?
right. There you go. Right. I like that. So
Sex isn't about getting.
yeah, you're right. Great. Thank you. Great, great. So if you're not giving 3 times a week, maybe you should analyze yourself and your own approach as the man in the household to maybe.
You have to have that discussion with your partner first because they're going to feel like you're overloading them with ice cream again.
Okay, good.
And women do get in that mindset though, like, oh, I let him have sex with me, right? And they're not looking at it as, wow, my partner really wants to give me pleasure. It's more like, okay, I had to give at work. I had to give with, the kids. I had to give it, taking them to soccer practice. And now what do you want from me? I have nothing left to give. And we want them to shift into, wow, I get to receive. So when you use the language, what are you getting? And I use the language, what are you giving? And I'm switching it up for women as to what are you receiving?
Wow, it's amazing how those words, like you just corrected me about getting versus giving, can be such a mindset shift. And Hugo just says, "Good work." Suddenly have an urge for ice cream. So we're going to wrap up today, but we're going to put some resources. Tiffany, thank you for your time. This has been fun. I didn't get as embarrassed as I thought I would. I even made a funny joke. That
Do you
people
mind, Jack, if I just give a couple of book recommendations?
don't mind whatsoever.
Because again, part of both of our professions is about we're here to give and to provide for you.
Right.
We want you to experience fortune. So in regards of books, I recommend The Sex-Starved Marriage by Michelle Weiner Davis. And a sexless marriage, by the way, is sex 10 or less times per year. I know that's a pinch off topic, but I did want to wrap up with giving some recommendations. Another one is called Come As You Are, and it's targeted for women and understanding their body and libido and kind of getting their groove on. And also John Gottman, who really is the kind of marriage guru in the U.S. He's based in Seattle. He has 7 principles for making marriage work, relationship cure. Sorry, I still have that Dr. Phil in my head. Relationship cure. So those are 3 books depending upon what your concerns are. Mary McCarthy's Coping with Erectile Dysfunction. So those are some resources that are out there.
You mind dropping those links too in the comments after we conclude? That way they would have them as they hear this, and then they could, if you wouldn't mind just searching on Amazon, it would be it'd
easy.
be good to list. These are great resources. John Fry says, "Love seeing Jack squirm in that chair. Not used to seeing you nervous." Well, I'm not nervous. I'm just being pressed to really get better as a man and a husband to give versus get. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I've gotten from this is, just looking at it from that perspective. We all are tuned into this radio station. And even you and I, John, have had this conversation about what's in it for me, where we really need to be saying what's in it for our partner and us, because we'll get blessed from giving, right?
You might have a longer life.
I love that. We all want to live.
I'm just trying to save men and help women reignite their libido. So the practice here, but I'm going to be starting a coaching practice in March. And then I have that from Low to Go group. So I'm just trying to see how I might be able to help some of those individuals that are out there. I just am very passionate about passionate relationships and helping couples to get there.
This has been good, Tiffany. I thank you. And folks, definitely tune in to Thursday. We're going to wrap up for the day on the Healthy Wealth Show, where we're helping people navigate wealth and health in the valleys of life, And so if you are stuck in a relationship where there's not that intimacy or that sexual desire any longer, reach out to Tiffany. And you need help. You need to get help. You need to invest in that relationship. And we'll put some resources in the comments, and tune in on Thursday. I forgot who we're even doing, but you can check out the page, like the Healthy Wealth Show, and stay tuned. And I'm sure we're going to do another one of these with Tiffany in not too long, in the not too distant future. So y'all have an awesome day. And again, give, not get.
Thank you, Jack, for having me on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.